One thing we always hear from clients is, Drew, my property's taxes seem way out of whack. Is there anything I can do about it? The answer is yes. We sat down with my friend Steve, who's known as the property tax avenger. He took a job working in the government taxation office and flipped it on his head and became an advocate for homeowners and their taxation issues. We sat down with him the other day. If you're a senior or you have a high-end home, you're going to want to hear what he had to say.
Hello everybody, I am excited to talk to our guest today. Steve Anderson with First Class Property Tax Appeals is with us. Steve, that's an interesting niche business that you've gotten into there.
Well, I was a hearings officer in Clackamas County on the Tax Appeals Board for 4 years, and I didn't feel that the representation coming in the door, basically talking to me about their clients' properties, was that good.
Right.
So I thought I could do a better job.
So you're on the other side of it.
I'm on this side of the table, yeah.
Yeah, and now you flipped over and you're helping people with their property tax issues.
They created a monster, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's right. How are property taxes, for those who may not know, viewing this, how are property taxes calculated in Oregon? Is it just a fixed percentage of last sales price? What is it?
No, sales price has nothing to do with it. Realistically, there are two values on the property tax statement. Real market value, which the assessor attempts to nail that down every year for the property itself, and then the assessed value, which is usually lower the two numbers. The assessed value is a portion of the real market value, and then that's a convoluted how assessed value comes about. Basically, it follows every year 3% above the prior year, is what assessed value does once it's established. And primarily, your taxes are based on the assessed value, but the real market value does come into play in a lot of situations.
Okay, interesting. A lot of people complain about sometimes they feel like their neighbor's house is assessed way differently than theirs, and they're quite similar. How does that come about?
That's actually true.
Yeah.
Every tax account is freestanding. When we did away with the old system we did away with the Board of Equalization. So we used to have, if you had a situation where your neighbor's house was the same house, same square footage, same year built, same quality, and you had different taxes, you go to the Board of Equalization and say, wait a minute, this is wrong. My tax should be the same as my neighbor's. And now, realistically, you can only challenge the real market value in most cases. And in a lot of cases, that will lower taxes to what's called compression.
Okay, gotcha. So, I mean, what can people do proactively? So let's say you're trying to buy a house, you're trying to sell a house. I mean, what steps can you do to, limit your property tax exposure, I suppose?
Essentially, if you're trying to sell your house and the house is listed below the real market value, we probably should have a talk. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to buy a home and then you buy the home for property value below the real market value, we should probably talk there also.
Okay.
Most times there's potential savings there involved. I hear from people, usually in the upper end, a lot about the fact they won't buy these houses because the taxes are too high. Mm-hmm. And I get clients all the time saying, I can't sell my house because my taxes are so high. Can you help me out? Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't. Depends on what the situation is.
That's awesome. What does it look like if for someone that you are able to help? What does that look like? How do they come to you? What process do you take them? What governing entities are you having to deal with too?
In third week of October, everybody gets their tax bill in Oregon, and I get inundated. I get basically shoveled tax statements from people via email and phone calls and stuff. We get about 1,000 the first week. Wow. Give you an idea, okay? And I do have a team that works with me, and we do go through and look at them. And what we do, our services are free to the client. And I want to qualify free. We'll do single family dwellings and single tenant commercial buildings. Don't give me Washington Square with 47 attached leases and say, you said free, that's not going to be free. But we look at it and we try to determine if there's a basis for an appeal.
Okay.
And if there is, we come back with, we think you should appeal, and here's the ballpark potential savings that might be involved in that. Or we say, there's nothing here we can do for you. And realistically, more times than not, we can't help them, or if we can't help them, it's not going to be cost beneficial. How's that?
So a good barometer, a good litmus test is if you buy or sell below RMV to come talk to you.
Right.
So I mean, they never pay for your services, is what you're saying?
They don't pay. Here's what happens. If we recommend they appeal and they decide to go ahead and go forward, that's when we get engaged.
Yep.
We come back to them and say, okay, if you want to hire us to represent you, we take your place through the whole process. We become you, basically. We file the paperwork. We schedule the inspection. Most counties want to inspect the properties on interior and exterior. We actually attend those inspections. We schedule the hearing, the date and time. We actually go and testify on their behalf. So it's a turnkey for the property owner. They basically write us a check, sign 2 forms, and then about 4 minutes later, I call them up and say, here's what happened.
Awesome.
So we're running almost 90% of our cases we file end up with the tax savings to our clients.
Perfect.
Well, we're very, very selective in what we take as far as
Right,
cases.
you know what's going to win because you've seen what wins and what doesn't.
I can't guarantee results, but we're pretty good at what we do.
Yeah, that's great, and no one can guarantee results. That's awesome. What do you love about doing what you do?
I'm giving it to the man.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how inefficient the counties are. And when they do this, in Multnomah County, there's like 400,000 tax accounts, and 26 people make decisions on those 400,000 accounts every year. About 5 of them are brand new every year, which is about 20% turnover in the personnel every year. So you can see what's developing here.
Yeah.
There's no continuity on their side, and they rely, quite frankly, on the taxpayers' apathy. Less than 1% of taxpayers ever appeal on an annual basis, and they rely on that. And quite frankly, most people that appeal usually get results from it. The county's attitude is that, well, if you appeal, you probably got basis for an appeal. We'll take a look at it, and then they try to work something out with you. Typically, roughly $14 million is paid out in Tri-County area last year in refunds, 3 counties. We figure about $200 million is available if they would have appealed that should have appealed.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of money left on the table there.
A lot of money. I mean, being as intricately knowledgeable about tax structure and property taxes here, it seems to me that we have a system that's not really working for most people, and it's very arbitrary in spots. To be proactive, what solutions would you put forward that might work, that we could simplify our property taxes here in Oregon?
Well, I'd like to add some things to it. I think we should adopt some things other states are doing, like Washington, for instance. If you're 65 years old and you're on Social Security or fixed income, you get part of your value is taken away as far as taxation goes, or you can freeze your taxes. My biggest problem, quite frankly, I get phone calls literally every day from senior adults who lived in their home all their life, had paid for it a long time ago. Mortgage was paid for 20 years ago, and then one of them passes or goes in a nursing home, and they're down to one income and trying to keep their lifestyle going forward. They can't financially. And the biggest thing on their budget, over everything else, is their property taxes, over their medical care, their insurances, their utilities, their vehicles. It's uncontrollable because it goes up more than 3% per year in most cases. So, and I think Social Security's got 1.8% this year. So I mean, you look at that and going, there's a problem here, and I hate to have people move out of their homes because of taxes. Yeah. And I get that. Literally, I get people calling every day or they're crying. They're just, I can't do this. I don't know what to do. I've always been able to pay my bills. I can't pay my tax bill anymore. What do I do? Right. Oregon does have the deferral program, but I don't know if that's really a solution or something else we need to talk about there. So
yeah, awesome. Well, anything else to add that people at home should know about property taxes?
If they, being the assessor, knock on your door, leave you a card, you're not required to let them in the house, okay? Don't let them in the house. Typically, they are there to gather evidence against you. They're gonna tell you they wanna update the records, et cetera, and all that. And they're the nicest people in the world until you let them in. When they let them, oh, we didn't know about this bathroom. Click, click, pictures take place. So the Oregon Supreme Court has determined that you have to let them on your property, not in your property. And if you let them in your property, then you are potentially exposing yourself to potential higher taxes going forward, or even going backwards in some cases. So that's one thing I recommend. Secondly is that just take a look at your tax statement. I have people every year that call me and say, I haven't looked at it in like 10 years, I just keep paying it. And I realize all of a sudden it's way too high. And if you go into Multnomah County and look, I can show you on Portland maps, if I take any house in Portland over a 10-year period, the taxes have at least doubled in the last 10 years. And we're going 3% per year supposedly. Well, they keep voting in bonds and levies there. That's over and above the 3% limitation. And people go, wait a minute, I was paying $8,000 in 2010. I'm paying $15,000, $16,000 now for the same house. What happened here? Well, and of course the house in their mind hasn't gone that much. It's gone in value, but not that much.
Right.
So those are a couple things I would take a look at, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, thank you so much for being
Thanks,
with
Drew.
us here today.
Nice
It was
seeing you
great,
again, yeah.
and thanks for being an expert. We'd be happy to connect you with Steve and his team at First Class Property Tax Valuation Assessment Help. What's the exact term, Steve?
Tax appeals.
Tax appeals,
Yes.
First Class Property Tax Appeals. So thanks for joining us, and we'll have a good day. Bye-bye.